In the mountains of the Himalayas, a young girl leads the way home. She's been separated from her family for almost a year. Sent to school in Kathmandu, instead she landed in a nightmare.
Children are being recruited or transferred into orphanages for the purposes of exploitation and profit. What better object of charity than an orphan child?
Thousands of children in Nepal are being forced to pose as orphans to attract Western donations. Now, some are returning home, but the journey to end the trade has just begun. I'm on my way to meet a special group of children. This place is quite important in the whole process of getting the kids to go home.
That's right.
Namaste.
This is a transit home on the outskirts of Kathmandu. All of the children here have been rescued from illegal orphanages.
Are you going to do tracing?
They were trafficked from their villages deep in the mountains.
Yep. And then the next bit.
10-year-old Devi is finding her voice again.
What about that one? Blue.
Blue.
That's right. That's good.
She's mischievous. Sometimes she cracks jokes. She is very, very friendly with all the children. And she just loves a carefree type of child she is.
So she's a bit of a character.
Yeah, she is.
Shall I do that bit? Oh, OK, hang on. This is going to be difficult. That bit. That bit. Maybe it's a garden. What do you think?
Despite everything she's been through, Devi hasn't lost hope.
Down here. Is it good? Is it all right?
Her dream of home remains strong.
2, 3, 4. 1. There. Do you want to put that one in?
No.
No?
I can't imagine how these young children, between the age of 3 to 9 or 10, how can they be separated, you know? How can they live away for so many years, so many months?
Yeah, blue. That's
In a few days, the children will start the long trek back to their families.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
Nepal's mountain regions are as beautiful as they are poor. Opportunities here are few. Many parents in remote villages want a better life for their children. Orphanage recruiters prey on that desperation. Families hand over their savings on the promise of an education for their kids in Kathmandu. But there's a catch. While orphanages may provide some schooling, the children are falsely presented as orphans to attract foreign sponsors and volunteers. It's an industry exploited by Nepalese, but driven by Western demand.
We're trained in Western countries to think a certain way about developing countries. And one of those ways is that orphanages are a great way of caring for children who would otherwise be living in poverty. And that, in combination with the good intentions and the funding and the flow of volunteers, just drives the separation of children from their families. The cold hard facts are there aren't enough orphans to volunteer with or fund this whole industry. So the orphans are being invented. They're paper orphans. They're orphans made by their fraudulent documentation only.
Australian lawyer Kate van Doore speaks from first-hand experience. In 2006, she and some friends raised funds to open an orphanage in Kathmandu with an initial intake of 6 girls handed over by another institution. Kate personally sponsored the smallest child, 4-year-old Alicia.
I felt a huge sense of responsibility towards her, but I also wondered, where are her parents and why is she orphaned? And we just assumed her parents were dead. She was too small to tell us otherwise. My wonderings about Alicia constantly referenced her family. Where was her family? And how could I be her family moving forward?
For more than a decade, Kate has maintained contact with Alicia and the other girls. Today, they're reuniting for the first time in 5 years.
Look at you.
Hi. It's a long time, huh? It's a long time.
Let's welcome Auntie.
Yeah, I missed you too.
मैले चाहिँ उहाँलाई सानैदेखि चिनेको अनि उहाँ चाहिँ अब मेरो फ्यामिली जस्तै हो अनि मेरो मम्मी जतिको इम्पोर्टेन्ट हुनुहुन्छ उहाँ नि त्यति नै इम्पोर्टेन्ट हुनुहुन्छ मेरो लाइफमा अनि
Kate knows now that all the girls had living families.
Hello, it's me, Diksha. Hello, it's me, Katie Auntie.
Hello, it's me, Elisa. Hello.
In 2012, an audit revealed they'd been trafficked as paper orphans before entering her care.
We found fraudulent death certificates and birth certificates. We found that the children's names had been changed to prevent, I suppose, family finding them. And I thought, if they've got family, there's no way that they should be here with us. If they've got family, then we need to find a way to get them home.
Kate's organisation, Forget Me Not, began the process of tracing the families. They discovered Alicia's parents had been searching for her for years.
When we got that news, I remember crying because I'd wanted that for her and I had hoped it was out there somewhere, but I had never kind of known what it would look like for her. And when her father came to Kathmandu to see Alicia, he hadn't seen her for 6 or 7 years. And he cupped her chin and he turned her head and she has a scar just here. And he touched that scar and then he lifted her forehead and she has a scar just here from when she was obviously a small child. And he said, this is my child. Yeah, you can't, even if you did nothing else, that was the most important.
अनि कस्तो लागिरहेछ घर चाहिँ
राम्रो
लागिरहेछ घरमा को हुनुहुन्छ
Forget Me Not has completely changed its mission from orphanage to reuniting children with their families.
अनि कुरा गर्न
After living at home with her family for 4 years, Alicia has returned to Kathmandu to enrol in college and to mentor children like Devi.
कति भयो गाउँबाट आएर
9
There are no foreign staff or volunteers at the transit home. The care is in the hands of Nepalis.
They know what needs to be done to deinstitutionalise this country. They're on their way there, and we just felt that it's more important to have a Nepali voice in that process than it is to have a foreigner's voice in that process.
The staff carefully build trust with the children so they can try to find their families.
When the children start trusting you, trusting us, the team here, then they start telling more stories about the previous orphanage or the family members.
Anju Pan is helping to put the pieces back together.
Very much rewarding. It makes me happy, it makes my team happy, because after a lot of work, when you are able to reunite a child with her or his family, I think this is the best thing in the world. That's how I feel and my team feels. कोसँग आएको तिमी बालगृहमा
कल्पना आन्टीसँग
कल्पना आन्टीसँग
Many of the children, like Devi, are still traumatised.
गाह्रो भयो त्यहाँ बस्दाखेरि अब घर जाने नि हैन
This video shows the day that Devi and the other children were rescued from the illegal orphanage. They had been held on the outskirts of Kathmandu for more than 6 months.
They thought of a better life here. They were lured, the families were tricked, but actually the life which they were living in this place was hell.
The orphanage owners had failed to secure sponsors. Meanwhile, the children went hungry.
It boils me, and I think that anger is good for me because that will help me to talk in front of the government authorities and the people who are supporting orphanages that you are harming children.
Devi's own aunt, Kalpana Buddha, has been charged with trafficking the children. It's common in the orphanage trade for relatives to be used as go-betweens. Kalpana has agreed to speak publicly for the first time. She claims she was assured the children would receive quality schooling and accommodation, but she failed to raise the alarm when she saw the terrible conditions.
अब समातिन्छ के भन्ने त्यही उ नै थियो पहिले अब बाहिर ल्याएपछि कहाँ राख्ने आफ्नो कोठामा त राख्नु भएन त्यत्रो बच्चाहरुलाई अनि मैले कि नत्र बच्चाहरु सबै ल्याएर आफ्नोमा राख्ने भए पनि राखौं गाउँमा पठाउँला पनि भने त्यो आइमाइलले नै छोड्दैन थियो के
Kalpana says she tried to help the children.
जब कि पढाइको यताउता अब उनीहरुले उ गरेर ल्याइसकेपछि अब यता यस्तोमा पढिसकेपछि मैले कसरी छोड्न सक्थे भोला गाउँभरि भनिसकेपछि हैन मेरो छोरी काठमाडौँ जाँदै छन् त्यसो सबै टुटाएर यहाँबाट फर्कायो भने उनीहरुलाई कस्तो लाग्छ
Kalpana is out on bail but will be jailed if she's found guilty.
अब म भित्र लड्दै आफै उ भया हो नि त यसमा त यस आमाले चाहिँ पहिले नगर्नु पर्थ्यो अब त बेकारमा नाम चाहिँ गयो भन्ने जस्तो हुन्छ नि त्यस्तोहरु अब आमाले त्यस्तो भन्दा चित्त त दुखिहाल्छ नि
The court proceedings could take years to resolve. At the transit home, Devi and the other children are preparing to go home to Humla.
They're very excited. They're scared also. Flying to Humla is not an easy task, even adults like me. I've flown there before. It's dangerous.
Just like the kids, DB Lama is from Humla too. His organisation, the Himalayan Innovative Society, is partnering with Forget Me Not to ensure the children arrive home safely.
अनि छ नि अनि घरमा गएपछि ज्ञानी हुनुपर्छ है हुन्छ घरमा झगडा गर्नु हुँदैन है अनि स्कुलमा जानी पढ्ने राम्रोसँग है हुन्छ अनि
Going home means saying goodbye to the staff at the transit home. Even though it's for all the right reasons, leaving is painful. There are no roads to Humla. It will take 2 flights to get there. The children have bonded through the ordeal they've shared. But in less than 24 hours, they will be going their separate ways. DB Lama knows it will be challenging.
When a child remains in an orphanage, then everyone friend. But once they come back to their family, there is a hierarchy of family members. So they have to respect each of the family members differently. So that will be difficult for the child.
It's a rough ride home. As the plane gets closer, the children start recognising their villages below. Humla's capital, Simakot, sits at almost 3,000 metres. This runway is infamous. It's so high, the plane barely needs to make a descent. Humla is one of the most impoverished and isolated parts of Nepal, in the bottom 3 of 77 districts on almost every measure of development. The kids wait for their families to arrive. At first, the children are not sure how to reconnect. The local culture is reserved. This is just the start of a complex process. DB Lama's job isn't just to reunite the families, but to help them through the hardships that separated them in the first place.
We are not only sending the child back to family, but we will support her education. Our job is not finished. Our job starts from there because we have to watch all the behaviors, the changes in the family and counsel them.
10-year-old Devi is still waiting as the day ends. At last, Devi's mother, Kalawati, arrives. Local custom dictates that she greets the men first. And there are no shows of affection for Devi. Devi's mum trusted that her daughter was being educated and cared for in Kathmandu. Now she's learning the reality. It's not easy putting families back together after almost a year. The children are more worldly now, but many of the parents have never left the mountains. There's only one way for Devi to get home, on foot. Her village is deep in the mountains, a day's walk from Simakot. It will be a difficult trek. It's not until you get out here that you really understand just how far the traffickers are prepared to go to get children for the orphanage market in Kathmandu. It also gives a sense of the isolation and remoteness that the parents are facing. They are desperate for opportunities and education for their children. Devi's mum has lived a life heavy with struggle. 3 of her 6 children died of illness.
हामीलाई क्या निको लाग्दो त बि ठीक लाग्यो केही सिया निन्द निउन आफुलाई के लाग्दो चिन्ता लाग्यो के अब लैन हुने बन ताखै लाग्यो त्यो सुचाइ लाग्यो देवीलाई घर ल्याउँदा राम्रो मुलाई उ लागिया
Devi's journey back to her village is finally over. Tali is tucked away from the world. Devi greets her sister Auli, but it's an awkward reunion. They've lived very different lives since Devi left for Kathmandu. Devi's family will receive financial support to send her and Auli to school in the village. Social workers will check on them for the next 3 to 5 years.
देवीलाई कस्तो लाग्छ
राम्रो लागेछ
दिदी आमाहरुले भेट्दाखेरि कस्तो लाग्छ
राम्रो
राम्रो लाग्छ कहिलेकाहीँ घर आफ्नो होमवर्क सिद्धिसकेपछि दिदीलाई आमालाई काममा पनि सघाउनुपर्छ है हुन्छ
फर्स्टमा जाँदाखेरि त म नि जान नि मन थिएन अनि गएर के पो हुन्छ होला अनि कसरी बस्छु होला सानैदेखि काठमाडौँमा बसेको गाउँमा कसरी बस्छु होला जस्तो लाग्यो थियो पछि फेरि अब जाँदै गएँ अनि त्यसपछि त्यहाँ गएपछि अनि यहाँ आउनै मन लागेन अनि त्यहीँ
Back in Kathmandu, survivors of the orphanage trade, like Alicia, don't want another generation to suffer.
मलाई चाहिँ अब अहिले नै धेरै के रे बालबालिकाहरू अर्फनेजमा बसिरहेको छ फ्यामिली हुँदाहुँदै नै तिनीहरू अनाथ भएर बसिरहेको छ अनि त्यो देख्दाखेरि मलाई चाहिँ एकदम नराम्रो लाग्छ अब किनकि त्यो त मैले नै भोगेर आएको छु नि त फ्यामिली हुँदाहुँदा अर्फनेजमा बस्दाखेरि कस्तो फिल हुन्छ फ्यामिलीको कति याद आउँछ भनेर मलाई थाहा छ अनि
I would say to Australians, please do not volunteer or fund orphanages. This is not just a problem in Nepal, but it's actually a global problem. We know there's up to 8 million children living in orphanages across the world, and we know that 80% of them have a parent that could care for them if they were supported, and that's astounding.
Kate van Doore is campaigning in Australia and beyond to end the flow of funds.
It's really hard to get people to change their minds, particularly when they've been supporting an orphanage for a long time. Even when we found family for these children, some of our donors and some Australians were saying to us, that's great that you found their family, but you won't let them go back there, will you? Back to poverty, because the kids will be better off with you, won't they? Poverty is just a lack of resources. Resources we can fix. Love? You can't buy that. You can't just pay for that to happen. That needs to happen in a family.
Yo,